Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this morning's edition of Serendipity Sunday. I pray that things are well as you rise into this new day, this next day, this day called today, the now day. Well, it's a beautiful day here in St. Louis, Missouri, as I look out my window, but it's kind of brisk. I can see the fall is setting in on us, and we must prepare for that. Well, for those of you who are first-time viewers, welcome. Each and every Sunday morning, we are out here on Zoom, and we also can be found on our Facebook live feed, not Facebook live feeds. That for so many years, we've transitioned to the YouTube channel. So Oasis Spiritual Center for Divine Living has its very own YouTube channel, which is Oasis Spiritual Center. If you're on the channel today, go ahead and hit that like button or subscribe button. If you're there this morning and you're doing well, go ahead, type in the number 1 to let me know all is well. If you have a situation that you can't seem to solve and you need immediate assistance, like right now, go ahead and type 911 in there, so I know to get right with you at some point this morning. It is a beautiful day. If you're in the Zoom room or the Zoom service this morning, make sure you're typing 1 also. Good to see you, Dorothy. Good to see you, Courtney. Good to see you, Angela. For the Minister Felicity, good to see all of you as we prepare this morning to move into a new day. Let me check out see what else is sitting in the pews on this morning. Awesome. I see that the pews are loading up for our virtual pews this morning are loading up. Good morning, Mom. Good morning, Cheryl. Good. Make sure you guys, Bessie, good to see you. Make sure you guys are liking and make sure you guys are notifying somebody else what is happening. If you receive the link via the text message, all you have to do is copy it and you could paste it into other messages on your phone, people who are you're close to, people that's going through. If you know somebody who is sick and can't get well, if you know someone is challenged with a malady that they've put up with all their lives, send them the text this morning. We are in the place of possibility. Come on now, we're going to begin to practice what we preach. If we have not been practicing it, we're going to begin to take some practical steps that we can begin to see the power of the word being made manifest in our lives. Well, it is a beautiful day. And for those of you who are on the YouTube channel, make sure at some point you go up and you look into the About section and find out a little bit more about what Oasis Spiritual Center for Divine Living is all about. And the website for all of you is simple, www.oasisspiritualcenter.com. That'll take you to the website and you can poke around and you can find anything you need to know in order to become part of this wonderful community. Well, I'm going to jump right in this morning. We're right at 10 after the hour, and I like to spend about a good 30 minutes of your time. And then on the backside of that, we can go into some green room conversation, and then we'll be off running for the day. Today is Sunday, so you know it's football day. So I look forward to the remainder of my day. So let's start this morning. Let's start with a simple prayer. So right where you are, let's center, let's focus, let's come into the same space of possibility. Go ahead and close your door. Go ahead and look around, make sure you're in a safe space. Now, assuming that you are, take a deep breath in, filling up your diaphragm, expanding it to full capacity, holding that breath. On a count of 3, you exhale. 1, 2, 3. Releasing, relaxing, letting go of that which no longer serves you, being present to the next breath. Now together, let's begin to breathe in deeply through our nostrils, filling up our lungs to full capacity, holding that breath. Allowing it to do what it's been designed to do, touching every cell, every system, every organ. Now release it, relaxing, letting go, moving into the space. Call now. Continue to breathe in and out at your own pace. And let us begin this morning's message. Well, you should have received an email this morning, and the email gave you a little snippet, a glimpse of what we're going to deal with this morning. We're dealing with the topic of faith. Yes, faith. And as we listen to that song, Faith Conquers by Vanessa Bell Armstrong, faith that can believe the impossible, faith that can change the improbable. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Yes, we're dealing with that this morning. One of my favorite scriptures is that very scripture right there that we find in the book of Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. It says, now faith is. Come on now. I like that we start the very understanding with that chapter, with that verse. Faith is always now. Faith is never tomorrow. If you're putting off till tomorrow, then it's hope. If you're looking at what has been, then it's reality. Faith is doing something right here, right now, with an unseen force, an unseen source, standing in your truth, exercising it. Faith is the culmination. Faith in action is a culmination of the things you believe. And we want to look at that this morning. Why am I in this conversation? Because I continue to be appalled at the number of individuals who are faith leaders or who lead the conversation of faith. But the conversation of faith is steeped inside of materialism, is steeped inside of money, steeped inside of things other than what it really should be steeped inside of. Where is their faith? When you have to stand up as a spiritual leader and instead of giving scriptures and advocating for what the scripture says, you descend into the way of the world. Now, the way of the world works well for the world, but the word tells us that we are called to be in the world, but not of the world. I could be in something, but not of it. We're called to be ambassadors of a kingdom. We are called to be ambassadors of a new consciousness, the Christ consciousness. But we're not, for the most part. We are peddlers of, or I find many men and women of God are only peddlers of possibility, but not really able to move out of the realities that they're dealing with. When the rubber hits the road, they begin to do the things that the world does. Now, again, I'm not against anyone taking medicine, taking shots, doing what they believe is best for them. So that's my prayer. Anytime I pray for someone, anytime I pray for myself, I always end the prayer with, may sources or may God's highest and greatest good be made manifest in this situation. Somebody may not be where you are today. But the thing we must see that as you grow in your faith, you should not, for the remainder of your life, be exercising the mustard seed faith. But even the smallest faith is possible. Every man is given a measure of faith, enough to do what it is necessary for it to do in your life. Faith is that essential ingredient that we must all understand and begin to practice. Mix a little faith with. You don't have to mix anything else with, but faith is essential. So this morning I want to talk about that. I want to talk about faith in action. Anywhere there is faith, there is action associated with it. Anywhere there is faith, there's a work associated with it. Faith is not just believing something and sitting by waiting on something. Faith is a call to action. Come on now. Come on, are you tracking with me this morning? Awesome. So my question is, where is your faith? My question this morning, when was the last time you exercised your faith? Now we know that if you don't exercise a muscle, it atrophies, it dries up, it shrinks up. That's why when you break a arm or a leg, they make sure that as soon as the cast comes off, you go into rehabilitation. You're lifting, you're stretching that muscle back out, you're building it back up. And we got to do the same thing with our faith. Faith exercise grows. Faith unexercised lies dormant inside of possibility. And it's not being taught today. It's not being taught how to increase your faith, how to exercise your faith. Anytime you have a challenge in your life, in this world in which we live, which I call Earth School, it's an opportunity for you to put into practice that which you are knowledgeable of. Knowledge applied is power. Not just knowing, and people will automatically, when you start telling them something, they'll say, I know. But the question is, what do you do? To know and not to do, as far as I'm concerned, is not to know. Come on now. If that was the case, the library would be the most powerful place in the world, because the libraries has all the information. And even some now no longer go to the library, but where do they go? They go to the internet. And they say the internet is the most powerful place you can go. No, there's a place more powerful than that. Whenever you go somewhere and you get the knowledge, be it the library, be it the you Google Smart, and it's not until you apply it that the power kicks in. So we want to talk about the power. We want to talk about applying our faith, exercising our faith. Come on, that's what we want to talk about. Let's take a trip this morning through the scriptures. I am going through the scriptures, and you may say, wait a minute, I thought you was one who teach comedic sciences. I thought you were into the Nile Valley spiritual system. I am now, but I've come present in something relevant. Very few of us has the gifting or the ability to read the metanetter or the sacred writings, or very few of us have the real encounters with that information, but source has made a way. And so when I look at the Bible, it is one document that is filled with wisdom, filled with stories, filled with analogies that we should look at, and don't get so caught up in the messengers, but look for the message. And there's a message this morning. And the message has to do with faith. Faith. That's what I'm talking about this morning. Let me adjust my table here this morning. Let's see if I can, I think that's a little better. That way we can kind of be eye to eye. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Awesome. So I want to start with a story. And the story I want to start with has to do with two women, a little girl and a grown woman. Okay. Anytime there's faith, there has to be a level of creativity there. There has to be something that is cultivating the word or the possibility of faith. And so let's go to, I'm going to go to Mark chapter 5 to start this morning. And I'm going to be reading from Mark chapter 5. And I'm going to pick up in verse 21. And when Jesus was passed over again by ship unto the other side, much people gathered unto him, and he was near unto the sea. And behold, there come one of the rulers of the synagogue, a religious person who knew the scriptures, came to him. His name was Jairus. Jairus was his name. And when he saw him, he fell at his feet and besought him greatly. See, here's that's a religious ruler knowing that he knew some stuff, but he understood that what he knew did not measure up to the knower. And the knower in this particular message was Christ, Jesus the Christ. Just like you are, Noah, when you are exercising the faith, people will seek you out. People want to know how you're doing. People will just, even some people just observe you. So look what happens here. See, observance, though, without action won't get the same reaction. You have to observe. So we have a lot of people. I have people that pop in on my teachings, and they pop in a if at all possible, to try to pop in an anonymous way where I can't see their name, I can't get their number, I can't reach out to them. And my question is, why are you anonymous? Okay, because if you're anonymous, then you are putting a veil up that prevents you from really actually getting the fullness of the message, or even to step into this place called the place of possibility. It's not enough to see something through the window, because as long as you're looking through the window, you don't have access to it. But unless that window is open, unless you go beyond the glass, beyond the veil, and step into the room, you only can see it. You can't access it. So let's move beyond just observing things to practicing things. And when Jesus passed over again by the ship, go down to verse 23, and besought him greatly, saying, this man came, a ruler in the church, said, my little daughter lieth at the point of death. Now, I used to believe that she was about 12 years old. Now, check this out. I pray thee come and lay thy hands on her. So the word says, if there's any sick amongst you, let us call the elders. And he was an elder, but he had gotten to a place where it was beyond what he can do. Sometimes you can have a situation, a circumstance that you can handle for somebody else, but when it camps out at your house, you are flabbergasted, you are too outdone, you can't do anything. Then that's when you need somebody to come alongside of you. Sometimes a situation can be so real that it knocks the air out of you, that you're like a deer caught in the headlights of a car, oncoming car. And it's times like those where you need to know where you can get to, that you can find someone who can stand with you, who can intercede on your behalf, who can pray the prayer of faith and not just rehearse your situation, not just be a voyeur trying to find out how you got in this situation. No, but someone who can intervene and speak the word, someone who could lay hands on the sick and see them recover. It says, these signs shall follow those who believe. They shall lay hands on the sick and they shall recover. Come on now. So we have to understand that there is a level of power that we have as believers, and we need to start exercising our faith. Look at this dude, Jairus, a leader. He had a daughter with the issue, and he besought him, saying, my little daughter lies at the point of death. She wasn't dead, but she was on the way there. She was at death's door. Somebody on this call, somebody on this feed this morning is at death's door. Now, you may not be about to die the physical death, but you're at the end of your rope. You've done all that you can do. You've tried everything. You've taken 2 pokes, and now it's time to take another poke. And you're like, this ain't getting it. Here's an opportunity. Look what happens here. And I'm gonna show you that. I'm gonna show you how, maybe not this girl, but I'm sure this man, this father has done all that he could do. He mixed up all kind of potions. He was saying in Jesus' name, and no, he wasn't saying Jesus' name, because in that day and age, at that particular time, that potion wasn't given yet. But he was exercising what he knew. So when you exercise what you knew and it runs out and you don't know what to do, then you need to step outside of what's traditional, and you need to move to another level, because here sometimes you got to understand, something created on this level, it takes something at the next level to exercise it, to get rid of it. No, he says, I pray thee come, lay hands on my daughter, that she may be healed and shall live. And Jesus went with him, and much people followed him. And a certain, no, it's okay. So that's this story in the book of Mark. But in another book, it tells you, Jesus said, I've seen no greater faith. Because the centurion in that story says, all you need to do is speak the word. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find that. I can see if I can find that. Okay, now I'm moving on. But he said, the centurion in another story, the same story being retold, said to Jesus, you don't even have to come. But all you need to do is speak the word. Why did he say that? Because signs and wonders follow the word. Now, somebody on this call right now, I just sensed it. You said, oh, that's hogwash. Then you can just drop off. Okay, because you're not even open to receive a new possibility. You're listening with veiled ears. You're listening to substantiate what you already believe. But if you're on this call this morning, if you're on this feed right now, it could be late in the midnight hour that you are listening to this, stick around and listen for a new possibility. Now, look what happens here. So he says, so now he's on his way to lay hands on the little girl. Look what happens on his way to deal with the little girl. And Jesus went with him, and much people followed him and thronged him. And a certain woman, check this out, y'all know this lady, which had an issue of blood for 12 years. He's on his way to heal a young girl who's 12 years old. And now he's encounters a grown woman who's been dealing with an issue for 12 long years. Now, you got to understand something. According to Hebraic law, and according to the customs of that day, he shouldn't have been having an encounter with her, not in public. But look what happens. And a certain woman which had an issue of blood 12 years. We don't know what it was, but she had something wrong with her blood. The life is in the blood. So she was dying. Okay, I don't know if she was bleeding out. I don't know what it was, but it was something to do with her blood. And she said, check this out, and had suffered many things of many physicians. Has went through many things. Now, I see that today. That's right here, right now. Many individuals that you know, I know, are taking medicines, trying this one, and it doesn't work. So they try that one, and it doesn't work. The only reason we suffer many things, we continue to go back to the medical doctors, because we have a level of belief in them, a level of faith in them. But where the doctors stop, that's where God starts. Where the physician fails, that's where the great physician picks up. Come on now. So look what happens here. She had an issue for 12 years. And she didn't just sit by and say, me, oh my. For 12 years, she tried this, she's tried that. How many of you have something in your life you've been trying? It don't have to be an issue that has to do with illness, but you got an issue. And you're still trying to work it out. You're still trying to figure it out. You're still trying to handle it in your own way. God makes space. Source makes space for you to do what you think is best. But then there comes a point where you're exhausted. Then there comes a point where you hear that there is another way, another possibility. And the possibility was in the land. The physician was moving about. And he was coming through this particular town, and she heard about it. See, faith is when you know something, you do something. Faith is always matched with the action. She could have stayed home. Even the little girl was healed by faith, the faith of her father. He did something. He didn't just hope for something. Faith is what? Now. What do you need right now? Now faith is the substance of things hoped for. Hoping for his daughter to get well. Hoping for the issue that I've been dealing with for 12 years to be eradicated, taken care of. But there's something deeper than hope here. Evidence. Evidence will put you away. That's why when the rubber meets the road, the only people that's going to really be found standing is those who can provide evidence. The church is undergoing a cleansing right now. People are waking up. People are saying, if you can't show me your faith, then you're faithless. The men and women of renown, men and women of positions that should be held by the spiritually mature are acquiescing to another method. The word says, with God, all things are possible. This week I had to write about 3 letters of for religious exemptions on our letterhead. The employer wasn't going to just go with the attestation of the individual, but the employer wanted proof that these people believed what they say they believe. So I'm telling you guys, a lot of lawsuits are about to break out because employers are overstepping their bounds. The government is overstepping its bounds. But when will you stand in your truth? We know about that NBA player who has taken the position he's not going to take the shot, so he can't play. He said, I don't care about how much money it is. In my own convictions, he said he wasn't against people taking it or not, but in his own convictions, he wasn't going to take it. How many of us are being persuaded to do things, not just take shots or do certain things that everybody is doing because the masses is doing it? You gotta ask yourself, why are you making the decisions you're making? What are your influences? If your influences are external, then you need to relook that thing. If you're making decisions based on the sensory realm, on the carnal mind, the word of God says the carnal mind is at enmity to things of God. The word of God says to be carnally minded. What is carnal minded? To be led by a mind, okay, that is led by the sensory realm. A mind that is held hostage to the sensory realm, the realm of matter, the realm of physicality, the realm of intellect. But as sons and daughters, we need to know that we're created in this image after its likeness. We must understand this, that we are divine spiritual beings. We're not just humans being. So you got to put the divineness and the spirit essence back into the human essence. It was when it breathed on them that they became living souls. They became divine spiritual beings, just packaged inside of a human being. Greater is he that is in you than he that's in the world. See, there's scriptures that we've heard all along, but we have not disseminated them, digested them from our head to our hearts. Many things can be in your head, but it's not until it hits your heart that you take it to application. Look here. So on his way to heal the little girl, because of the faith of the father, the word says she had suffered many things of physicians. Ain't nothing wrong with physicians, but she suffered at their hands because her faith was in the physicians. But there's something there was a point in her spiritual maturity that she said, enough is enough. There comes a point in your life where going to the medicine cabinet was sufficient, is sufficient. But there comes a point in your life where you can become sick and tired of another pill. You become sick and tired of another diagnosis or another prognosis, and you say there has to be a better way. If we know how powerful we are. She has suffered at the hands of many, not just one, many physicians, and has spent all that she had. That's where her faith was. Her action was involved. She has spent everything she had in order to try to rid herself of this issue, and was nothing better, but grew worse. Keep on leaning into the world's solutions. It's only going to get worse. There's going to come a time where you're going to have to exercise your faith. Now, check this out. When she had heard of Jesus, came in and pressed behind and touched his garment. When she had heard, there was a new possibility. There was a man moving through Galilee, a man who was turning water to wine, a man who was walking on the water, a man who was transcending the reality of the dimension that most spiritual leaders were stuck in. A man who was even saying that a greater work you will do. A man who had the audacity to tell them, if you've seen me, you've seen it, or source, or the Father. A man who knew whose he was and who he was. Do you know who you are? Do you know whose you are? Do you know that you are made in the image and the likeness? Do you know that the word says healing is the children's bread? Do you know that if they're sick amongst us, we are told to call the elders? We're not told to call your physician. Now, the world, that makes sense. If you're in the world and you got an HMO or PPO and you got a situation, use it. But if you're in the kingdom, choose ye this day who you're going to serve. Now, let's see, faith grows. So this is not a message of judgment saying a person is better than another person. But there comes a point where you take your life into your hands and you don't care about others. You don't compare yourself to other people. You don't really move because of what everybody else is doing. The audacity that people have today. God, even Source, has given us free will. Source does not make us serve it. But here we have men and women who will stand up flat-footed and tell you how bad you are if you don't take a shot, if you don't take a pill. See, I'm against anything that's being imposed on people because we have been created with free will. Let people exercise their faith, their will. Come on, they've gone as far as saying anyone who has not taken a shot is going to get COVID. So they're projecting. And guess what? If you have ears to hear and you follow after what is said, telecasted, then that spell is being cast on you. And chances are it will happen. But you got to say, you a lie. And when you begin to hear stuff like that, turn it off. Turn the channel. Turn on something that's going to realign you, reattach you to what you're expecting, to what you're believing. Now look here. She only heard of him, and when she heard, she took an action. She wasn't just conscious of there was a man in the land who could heal. She was aware, and she took an action. Here, look at this action. She came in the press behind. She didn't let nobody know. She eased in on them. Well, there was a number of reasons she eased in on them. She probably was masked up so they couldn't see her. She probably was hoodied up so they couldn't recognize her. Because for 12 years, they know that's the one with the issue. She ain't been in church in 12 years. She ain't been in a public setting for 12 years. But guess what? She had to break out of the incarceration she was in. And some of us need to break out of the mental incarceration we're in. We think like the world. Your thoughts out express what you believe. What I see happening in your life tells me what you believe internally. What I see happening in your life tells me where your faith is. If little is happening in your life, little faith is being exercised. If great things are happening in your faith, in your life, great faith is being exercised. She exercised great faith. It didn't just happen overnight. She had these experiences, and we all have experiences, and we should be learning through the things we go through. We should be growing through the things we go through. Look what happens to this woman, grown woman. Say she was a grown woman. Yeah, she was a grown woman. She was grown as a woman. She was a grown woman. When she heard, she pressed in from behind. You ain't got to let everybody know what you're doing. You don't have to let everybody know that you're not taking a certain course of treatment. All you do is don't do it. You don't got to let everybody know where you're going to get your answer. All you have to do is do it. We got to get rid of this crowd mentality. We've been sucked into, unless we get a number of likes, we're not validated. Okay, you're validated by your action, by the faith you stand inside of. Check this out. She pressed in from behind. She wasn't even up front. She was on the backside and touched his garment. It says, touch the hem of his garment, the hem of his garment, that which was in the world but wasn't of the world. I know we talk about the HEM, the hem, or the HIM is what she touched. She went beyond the garment. She went beyond the external. She tuned in, tapped in to his frequency. How do I know it? Look what happens here. For she said, if I may. What is your if I may? What is your if I could? That's this morning's message. Your if I may, your if I could tells you where your faith is being exercised. She said, if I could. Now, this was the motivation of her touching, reaching out, going beyond the borders which she was held hostage into. She said, if I may touch but his clothes. I don't have to touch him. I just need to touch the container, because what's in the container affects the garment. Come on now. You can have the most beautiful garment on, but if you're an ugly person, I'm not talking about beauty, and beauty's only skin deep, ugly to the bone. No. I'm talking about your essence. If you have a nasty attitude, if you have a haughty spirit, if you just have this kind of disposition, you can have on the nicest garment, and nobody gonna want to touch you. But the garment is stained by what's in the garment. It was Christ's illumined state that made his garment so powerful. Look what happens. She said, if I may just touch his clothes, I shall be whole. She said, this is the possibility I'm going after, that I can be made whole just by touching him. So if you learn to tune in, tap in to God's frequency, your life will change. Look what happens. And it says in verse 29, and straightway the fountain of her blood was dried up. The issue changed instantaneously. Your situation can change when? By faith now. That's why I said the name of this ministry, we practice now thought, not new thought. We've gone to the next level, now thought, because all that matters is what you think right now. If you're thinking right now of what was is now. Come on. If you're thinking right now of what is to be as right now, it is. She says, as soon as she touched the garment, because she was in expectation. She expected it. See, faith has a level of expectation tied to it, not hope. Hope is I trust it will. Faith is I know it will. Expectation is a knowingness. Come on now. When you sat in that chair, you're sitting in right now, you sat with an expectation. You didn't sit with a hope. You didn't hope this chair would hold you up, but you plopped your little self right down in that chair because you had an expectation. Oh, but somebody got a rude awakening this morning. What usually held them didn't hold them. Come on now. So here's what we're saying to you this morning. Faith exercise is always right now. It says, and straightway the fountain of her blood dried up, and she felt in her body. She had proof that she was healed of the plague. She was, oh, it was a plague. It wasn't something that she only had, but there was a lot of people having it, but we're just looking at her. Because all that matter is you. You got to look at what's going on in your life. What's plaguing you? And the answer is not found in the plagiarism of doing what other people is doing, but the answer is found in the intuitive nudge. The intuitive nudge could be to go outside and get a certain herb and use it. The intuitive urge can be just to pray the prayer of faith. The intuitive urge, not the intellectual urge. The intellectual urge will tell you to do what you've been doing for 12 years, and you'll keep getting what you got for 12 years. But when the intuition trumps the intellect, let me plug my computer up right quick. I see. Give me a moment. There you go. I was depleting the energy source. That's a message right there that preaches. You got to be plugged in because you're going to run out at some point. My computer was about to run out, and I am so glad that it warned me. I was aware of the sign that showed up on the screen. And your life is the same way. You got to know where you run out. You got to know where you're running out and get plugged into the source. Many messages on many levels this morning. And straightway the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body, and she was healed of that plague. And Jesus, immediately knowing in himself, that virtue. Now, there's no sensory mechanisms going out to the end of his garment, his robe. Okay? Because many times people can touch your clothes and you not know it. But she didn't touch his outward self. She tuned in to the source in which he operates in, and virtue went out. The word says right here, immediately knowing in himself that virtue had gone out of him, something had pulled on his power in this press of people. And he wanted to know who had that level of faith that they wasn't front and center begging or asking, but they had decreed a thing. She said she had decreed that when I touch its garment, I will be made whole. That's faith with action. She went somewhere she wasn't supposed to go. She went masked up, but yet she went. But if she would have been found amongst them, they would have stoned her. How many people are stoning you because they find you amongst them and you haven't taken the shot? Yeah, I'm standing on this morning. I'm okay with anybody who has decided to take the shot, but you should be just as well as okay with those of us who choose not to take the shot at this present moment in time. Come on now, you mind your own business. And if you've taken something that's supposed to protect you, then those of us who may have it shouldn't affect you. Because even if I don't have it, if it's in the air, you should be protected against it. If it's on me, you should be protected. Come on, let's use some critical thinking. Now, I'm on this morning, and I'm on this in this season because we're at that place in history. Once again, like days of old, you got to choose this day whom you're going to serve. And I'm saying that because there's somebody out there who's steeped in a faith walk, and now they are questioning their beliefs. Be it according to your faith. Look here. Jesus looked and said, he turned and he said, who touched my clothes? So he couldn't say who touched my spirit. He brought it to where they were. Who touched my clothes? And look what his disciples said. And his disciples said unto him, those who are being disciplined by him. See, somebody can be with you, but not all the way with you. Somebody can be with you and have not gotten the memo yet. And the disciples said unto him, thou seest the multitude thronging thee. Come on, man. You see all these people pressing us, and we up against you. We touched you. No. He says, they said, see the multitude thronging thee, saith thou, who touched you? Well, come on, you tripping, Jesus. What do you mean, who touched you? And he looked around about, he looked beyond them. And he scanned the audience to see, and he found her that had done this thing. But the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing, because she still had an issue, even though she's been healed, they can't see it. Because sometimes what is happening to you happens on the inside before it's pressed to the outside. And even if it's happened on the inside and pressing to the outside, people deal with you based on your past. People deal with you based on yesterday. Very few people deal with you on today. They're already speculating. They're already presupposing what you'll do, what you'll say, or how you're going to respond based on who you've been. But sometimes you got to show up to somebody and say, I ain't the same person today. Come on. Let's bring this conversation to right here, right now. He looked around. He saw her. But the woman who was fearing, trembling, knowing what was done in her, came and fell down before him and told him, she said, I got some evidence. I got a testimony. And he said unto her, daughter, what healed her? Thy faith has made thee whole. Say, I'm perfect, whole, and complete. That's right. I'm perfect, whole, and complete. That's your faith level. Stop talking about how you're broken. Stop muddling around inside of your emotional wreck of your past. A lot of people making money on you being emotionally wounded. They want to keep reminding you. I'm saying bring it into right here, right now. Either you're healed or you're not. Either you're transformed or you're not. On the way to transformation, things fall off. Things get better. But you stand in the end, not the beginning. That's for somebody this morning. Get out of the conversation that holds you captive to what has been and move into the place of possibility. There are a lot of peddlers of things that they're only peddling these things because they get something out of it. Big Pharma peddles pills because they get something out of pills. They get paid. Doctors peddle pills and shots. They get something out of peddling pills and shots. I know. I used to work in a hospital setting from the perspective of I used to have to visit the doctor's office. And I saw every time I would come to the doctor's office to now I wasn't there for medical reasons. I was there to introduce the doctor to what we're doing with patients who may be showing up there with a certain issue. And we consider us when you need to refer a person for treatment or something like that. But while I'm sitting in the waiting room, usually there are pharmaceutical representatives there. And the pharmaceutical representatives are bringing all kinds of samples to give to the doctor, hoping that they can get the doctor. And sometimes there's bonuses associated with benefits associated for the doctor if he begins to prescribe that medication. The doctor may not even believe in the medication, but because of the benefits the doctor get, he prescribes it to some people. Now, I'm not saying all doctors do this, but this is what I've observed. This is what I know. Now, so you got to be very careful with that. We believe doctors have taken a Hippocratic oath, but really many doctors are hypocrites. They've taken the hypocritical oath. They're hypocrites, saying one thing's doing another. They won't even take the same medicine. Now, I'm gonna come off that. Now, I got to get on it because we're getting bombarded on every angle, at every angle, by these individuals who are perpetuating or who are selling this idea. Okay, that's cool. If you want to sell that, you sell it or present it, but don't force it on those who walk by faith, those who are at a certain level. Now, because you took the shot does not say you're not walking by faith. You walked within your faith level, but there are some with greater faith. And I must say that the person who is choosing to stand inside of I'm not taking the shot and exercising their faith has much greater faith than the person who said, you know what, I think I'm gonna take the shot. And it's not a judgment thing. It's not for you to be compared against me or someone else, or me to compare myself against. I'm not comparing myself against someone who took the shot to say I'm better than, but I'm just saying I'm walking in a more perfect way for me. The place of possibility. Now, and he said to her, daughter, thy faith made thee whole. Go in peace and be whole of thy plague. While he yet spake, there came from the ruler of the synagogue house that would say, thy daughter. Now, remember, he's on his way to heal the little girl, but he got sidetracked. But Jairus wasn't tripping. Jairus wasn't saying, come on, you can come back to her. Jairus knew that, hey, it's done because he's coming. As soon as Jesus heard, now, while he spake, there came from the ruler of the synagogue's house a certain which said, thy daughter is dead. Ooh, now the plot thickens. So the woman with the issue of blood, healed after a long time, the young girl dies. Look at faith in action. As soon as Jesus heard, he said, thy daughter is dead. Why trouble the master any further? Come on, we don't have to go any further. Here's real time. She's dead. Maybe we can talk to him about coming doing the eulogy. While he yet spoke, okay, as soon as Jesus heard the word that was spoken, as soon as he heard the word that was spoken, he said unto the ruler of the synagogue, be not afraid, only believe. See, sometimes when you hear a word like on the television, late in the midnight hour, you turn on the news and they say, if you haven't taken the shot, the great chances are you're going to get COVID. As soon as you hear the word, you got to step inside of an affirmation. He said, be not afraid. Don't have fear. God source has not given you the spirit of fear. Too many believers are walking inside the spirit of fear. That's why they're doing faithless things. Be not afraid. Only believe. Only believe. You don't have to add nothing to it. Don't have common sense. Only believe. Believe that what you intuitively know. Believe that what you are expecting. That's faith in action. And he suffered no man to follow him. He said, look, y'all stay back, because there's a lot of people can't go where you're going. Sometimes you can't tell people what you're standing on or where you're going to, because they're going to impede your progress. They'll keep you in the conversation of reality. And he suffered no man to follow him except Peter and James and John. Peter, James, and John. And there's a whole nother message inside of it. Why he chose these three disciples, because each one of them had a distinct thing that they need to learn to come with him. Peter, James, John, and the brother of John, the brother of James. And he come to the house. We're about to close up here. He comes to the house of the ruler of the synagogue. And he sees the tumult. They were crying. In the reality, the daughter was dead. In the reality, the pandemic is real. And they wept, wailing greatly. And when he was come into the house, he says unto them, why make ye this ado and weep? The damsel is not dead, but only sleep. And even you need to know that when you do die, you just sleep. So many of us are afraid to die because we think we're dead as a doornail or doorknob. But know this, even when we slip out of this garment, we just go into the sleep. And they laughed at him to scorn. He put himself in harm's way. You show up in a house where somebody has been pronounced dead and you say they're not dead, you got an issue. Come on now. I remember, and I'm going to close with this. I was, one Sunday morning, the church was packed. Tony, my late wife, was preaching. And while she was preaching, I'm sitting there. So I didn't sit in the pulpit. I sat in the front pew. Okay. And I was watching, I observed her face. And all of a sudden, she looked stunned. And so I looked around and I saw that one of our members had slumped over. Matter of fact, I heard the thud. His head had actually hit the pew. And what had begun to happen, what had happened was he died. In the middle of the sermon, she preached him to death. No. And she looked at me and I took the mic immediately because I knew she was stunned. She was startled. And I immediately began to speak the word of power over him. And I immediately began to direct people to do certain things. First of all, if they were in the sanctuary, I said, let us all go into prayer. Come to find out, long story short, this man's mama had died the same way in a church. Killed over. As a matter of fact, his wife said, oh my God, Johnny's dead. And she said his mother died the same way. Paramedic is in the sanctuary. A nurse was sitting behind him. They did what they do. They looked at me and like, he's dead. I told them to continue to do what you're supposed to do. I got on and told somebody, call and get the ambulance, and I prayed the prayer of faith. Comes back. They were able to get him out into the sanctuary, into the vestibule. The medics came. So the medics come. I want all this is verifiable proof. So what am I saying to you? Faith in action. I could have very easily sealed his demise. I could have very easily slipped into the reality of he is dead, but not on my watch. And that's even right here, right now. I'm saying to some of you, not on my watch will you die. And I'm not talking about the physical death. I'm saying dying to the things of this world. That is, dying inside of the things of this world. I'm offering a new possibility, an old possibility at a new place in time called now. Let's wrap this up. He says, they laughed at him to scorn, but when he had put them all out, you got to put all the naysayers out. You got to put out those who are not inside of your frequency, who are not believing how you believe in, who are not talking how you talk, who are not walking how you walk. Get them out. He said, but when he had put them all out, he took the father and the mother of the damsel, because they had a desire to see the manifestation, the power of God. And he took them, that they were with him, and entered into where the damsel was lying. The three went in to where the damsel was, but the three were one. And he took the damsel by the hand, faith in action. And he said unto her, Talitha Kuma, which is being interpreted, damsel, I say unto thee, arise. And straightway the damsel arose and walked, for she was the age of 12, and they were astonished, a great astonishment. And he charged them straitly that no man should know it, and commanded that something should be given to her to eat. Now, you're in a place of possibility right now. What Source has done for others, he will do for you. It is not a respecter of persons. So right here, right now, as we wrap up this morning, I want to let you know that the place of possibility has expanded to where you are. Whatever it is you're desiring right now in your life, whatever has been plaguing you, whatever plague that is on you, I'm praying the prayer of faith. So wherever you are right now, just extend your hand towards this screen if you want to touch it. But if you got a touch screen, be very careful and just breathe and enter into this prayer with me. Where we are, Source is. And where Source is, we are. This is the absolute truth that we stand in on this day, that we are created in the very image and the very likeness of Source. We stand here today, perfect, whole, and complete. No longer do we have to compete with. No longer do we have to compare ourselves to. No longer do we have to acquiesce to the call of the common folk. I lay hands, I speak life over you. That God's highest, Source's highest and greatest good is operating right here, right now in your life. Where you've been sick, you are well. Where you have been suffering, you are whole. Where you've come up short, you're in the land of more than enough. So I pray this prayer by faith. And I seal it with, may sources highest and greatest good be made manifest for you right now. And so it is. Amen. Amen. From the hidden to the revealed. I hope something this morning has been said that's been uplifting, encouraging. I didn't get the opportunity to go through the feeds, but I see that there are some comments here. There was I am the light of the world, and the source is within me. My belief, I'm that. If it wasn't so, I would have been told, come on now, I live as if this was my last day. No man or woman can give me my path. Come on, live, because all that matters is this day, today. Tomorrow is not promised you, but today is. Come on now. I pray something that has been said that's uplifting and encouraging. I am perfect, whole, complete. Come on now. Let me look over here and see what's going on inside of the YouTube channel. I can't get there this morning. I can't find it. But here's what I want to say. If this ministry have brought a message to you that has extended to you a new possibility, by faith this morning, somebody is dealing with financial matters. Sow the seed for the thing you need. Come on now. I'm not asking out of need, or neither am I asking out of greed, but I'm extending to you an opportunity to exercise your faith. Let it be according to your faith. Little faith, come on, little action. Big faith, big reaction. Come on now. So if this ministry's been a blessing, go ahead and go to oasisspiritualcenter.com. oasisspiritualcenter.com. Go to the giving tab. There you'll find different platforms from which you want to give it through PayPal. You want to give, come on, I just heard somebody's giving. I heard that link go off on my phone. If you want to give through text to give, you can do that. If you want to give through the tithing app that we have, you can do that. If you want to give through the Cash App, you can do that. So there's avenues. Where is your faith? Come on, the word says the workman is worthy of his hire. So I pray that I have brought a message that will take you higher, and that you, knowing that there's value in it, will give the ministry something that represents the value you receive. You'll tip a waitress, but you won't tip those who wait on you. Come on now. Well, I'm Greg Stanton. This has been Serendipity Sunday, also known as ASAR. Join us Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. Central Standard Time. You can go to the website and you can find out about our morning meditation, where we start out. How you start your day will tell you how your day is going to end. You should decree a thing and it'll be that thing. Monday through Friday, we have a team of individuals who are there to facilitate the morning meditation. We welcome you out. Come on, we're with you every day. So come on out there. I've shifted my teaching schedule. Right now, I'm just teaching on Saturday. Saturday school is every Saturday at 10 a.m. I took on another job to, I didn't get it. Some of you will be getting invites to my daughter's wedding. I didn't get an invite. I got an invoice. She sent Pops the invoice so that you can get an invite. So I'm assisting with the cost on that. And so I do what I have to do. Money is not going to drop out of heaven. The door was open. Great opportunity. A lot of money being made. Not only am I making some money, but I'm putting in 10 to 15,000 steps a night, pushing stuff around, getting this waist girdle off. So things work together for the good of those who love the law and are called according to its purpose. So I just want to say that to all of you, let you know that my schedule is kind of different until I can get to a level of homeostasis inside of all this. I'm going to be pushing away from some of the things I have normally been doing. So again, thank you for joining us this morning. No longer is the placeofpossibilities.com. The website is, I got to change that, but it is oasisspiritualcenter.com. That's all I have. So we're going to close this morning with the song that we started with. Take a few minutes and listen to this. All right. Have a wonderful day. Listen to this.
The invisible, expect the incredible, receives the impossible, faith that can conquer anything, faith that uproots my problem, faith to know God can solve them, faith to vision my freedom. I have faith that can conquer anything. Faith to reach the unreachable. Faith to fight the unbeatable. Faith to remove the unmovable. Faith that stands the invincible. Faith that can conquer anything. Faith to reach the unreachable, faith to fight the unbeatable, faith to remove the unmovable, faith that stands the invincible, faith that can conquer that sees the invincible, that expands the incredible, that can conquer anything.
Awesome. Peace. I'll see you in the morning.